second graders, we are starting a new math module today, and it's the very last one. We are starting Module 8. And Module 8 is a really good one. Now, unfortunately, I did not send you home with your Module 8 workbooks. I thought about it that day, and then I thought, no way, we'll be back by now. So you don't have this workbook. So what I'm going to have you do, I have your pages linked for each lesson. So you have two options. One is if you have a printer, you can just print the pages you need for that day. The second option is if you don't have a printer, what I want you to do is, your family will know how to do this because this is the way we used to do it a long time ago. You'll just take a piece of paper and using this page that'll be on the computer, you can just write number 1 and write the answer on the piece of paper. Number 2, write the answer on a piece of paper, and that'll work too, okay? All right, so but this is a short module. This is the last one for the year, and it's a really cool one because it is geometry. So I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. All right, the reason I'm using Screencastify is because I'm going to be using this thing here called a GeoBoard, which you now have in your Google Classroom. I'm going to put this in this lesson today, but it's also going to be located under the tab in Google Classroom for Math that says manipulatives. So you can use this anytime you want to do geometry and to create two-dimensional shapes, which brings me to our learning target for today. Today, I can describe 2D shapes or two-dimensional shapes based on their attributes. So we're going to learn what that word attributes means, and we're going to talk about two-dimensional shapes. Now, two-dimensional shapes are things that you've been learning about since you were probably in preschool. They have sides, but they don't have any depth to them. They're completely flat. So they're going to have sides. We're going to talk about their angles today also. And then we're going to learn how all of that connects to their attributes. All right. So what I want to do first is I want to show you my first GeoBoard that I've created. So I'm going to flip over to this first GeoBoard. Okay, so here we are on this first GeoBoard, and I've got two 2D shapes that I've created on this GeoBoard. And you are looking at them right now, and you know what shapes these are. They're triangles, exactly. And how did you know they were triangles? Let me guess. You counted the sides, right? You took your, I think you could see my cursor here. You looked at them with your eyes and you said, okay, there's one side, two sides, three sides. So that is a three-sided shape. It must be a triangle. And it's completely closed. There's no openings here. And then you looked over here at this one and you saw that it had one side, two sides, three sides. Okay, they're both triangles because they both have three sides. Well, also what I want you to know is that for every side, you're going to have an angle. So these triangles have three sides, so they're going to have three angles. And using my tools over here on this side, I'm going to show you how I can show where the angles are. So over here, I've got, I can change the color of my pen. I'm going to change it to green for this. And then this is the one where I can draw whatever I want. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to show you that where this side and where this side meet is called an angle. You have this point, and then it kind of opens up, and it looks like a mouth starting to open up, kind of like this, right? And so to indicate that that's an angle, I draw a line like this. Okay, so there's one angle. And then, do you see another one on this one? Down here, there's a second angle. Oop, I'm not drawing that very well. And then here's my third angle. Okay, everywhere that the two sides come together and meet, then that space like that, that's the angle. So this triangle has three sides, three angles. This one also does. It has an angle here, and finally there's my third angle here. Now there's something special about one of these angles on this page. Whenever the angle forms like a perfect L, now it can be a backward L, or it can be a forward L, or it can be an L that's turned like this, just a perfect corner like that, This one here, we call this one a right angle. It's the only one on this page because it is, like I said, it's that perfect L. So actually, when you are drawing a right angle, I'm going to use my eraser here, and I'm going to come over here and erase this. Oops, and then I erased some of my lines. Hang on, let me put it back. This is my straight line tool here. So I would come back and draw it straight, draw it straight. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and get my green pen and take my squiggly line one, and a right angle, they draw it just like a square. So you would come over here, and instead of doing this round thing, they do it like this. They would go, oh, that's pretty good. That tells me that that is a right angle. Okay, so this triangle here has a right angle. None of the rest of these angles are right angles, though. They're always either closed too much or they're open too much to be a right angle. So like this one here, this one is closed more than this one. So this one's not a right angle because it's too small to be a right angle. This one here is open wider than that perfect L. So it's too large to be a right angle. So we have too small, too large, too small. And then over here, we have too small, and then a right angle. Okay, well, we're going to move on now to the next page. So let me switch us over here. Okay, so now we're on the next page here, and we're going to talk about the attributes. Now I'm going to start to use that word, okay? I'm going to show you how to spell these words. We talked about the sides. We talked about the angles, so those triangles over there, those three-sided shapes. And now we're going to be talking about what are attributes exactly. Well, you've already been talking about them. So the attributes of these shapes here are things like the number of sides, the number of angles, whether or not they have a right angle in them. So we're going to do the same thing here. So I want you to look at these specific shapes because they share some attributes. What do you notice about these specific shapes? You probably have noticed that this one up here is a square, but then you're probably you may not remember what we call some of these other shapes here. So the common attribute here, the attribute that they all have, the one that they all have in common is that they have four sides. So if you look here, we've got one side, two sides, three sides, four sides. Over here, we've got one side, two sides, three sides, four sides. One side, two side, three sides, four sides. And then this one was really easy because it looks like a square. So you know it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want to show you something today. When I'm counting up the sides of my shapes, here's what I always do. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to let me get a different color pen. I'm going to use the blue one this time. And I want the squiggly. I make a mark. I make like a hash mark sort of on the side length so that I don't lose count. Because as some of these shapes get more complicated with more like additional sides, it's going to be difficult to keep track. So I come over here and I go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want you to do this today. I want you just to get into the habit of this, that when you're counting up the sides, that you make a hash mark on each side so that you make sure that you don't double count a side or forget to count a side. All right, here's one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how many angles? How many angles do these shapes have? This is also an attribute, the number of angles. Well, we learned with the triangles that these shapes, I'm going to go ahead and use the word that my book's telling me not to use, these polygons. Polygon is just a fancy word for many-sided shapes. These polygons have however many sides they have that many angles. So I'm going to come over here now to my pen, and I'm going to count the angles. All right, so I'm going to use the squiggly pen. Now, I noticed something about a square. There is something about the angles, all the angles of this square. Can you see what it is? They are all have that perfect L shape. So that means they are all right angles. So remember, when you draw a right angle, you make it like a box. Do I have my green pen selected? I don't think I did. Okay, here we go. So make a box like this. That's a right angle. This is a right angle. This is a right angle. And this is a right angle. So this right here, this is a square. It has 4 right angles. So it has 4 sides, 4 angles. All right, this one over here, we know it has 4 sides. It's going to have 4 angles. But if you look, none of them are, well, actually, that's not true. This angle here is odd because it's on the outside, isn't it? So you have this angle here, and that is not big enough to be a right angle. You have this angle here, and that is not big enough to be a right angle. You have this angle here, and that is not big enough to be a right angle. And then you have, look at this angle right here that's created right here. That actually, this one is a little bit tricky. This one is a right angle. Look at that. So I'm going to indicate it like that. Okay. All right. Then you've got down here, this one looks a little too small. 1. This one is, I'm trying to look at it right here. This one looks a little too, well, gosh, this one's hard to see. That one almost, I'm just going to call it an angle because I'm not for sure if it's right or not. It's kind of tricking me. It's kind of looking like it is, and it kind of looks like it isn't. So I'm just going to mark it like this. I'm not exactly sure. I'd almost have to measure it to be sure. This one I can tell is too big. And then I can tell this one here is too small. But look, 4 angles. Over here, we got 1, too small to be a right angle, too big to be a right angle, 2 right angles. And I am sure about these right here. Okay. So basically what we're seeing is that these shapes here have 4, I'm going to see if I can write it, sides. Yep, 4 sides, 4 angles. You'll be able to do all of this when you come to this site too, if you want to make some shapes. All right, 4 sides, 4 angles. All right, now we're going to flip over to my next slide. Okay, so as you can see here on this slide, we have 2 different shapes. We can call them polygons. How many sides do they have? Take a look. This is where we definitely have to make a hash mark across the sides because I don't want to get confused here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This has 5 sides. And are you okay if I use the same color pen just so we don't take too long in this video? 1, 2, 3. I think this is 4 and 5. 5 angles. Okay, here's one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, this one's like on the outside. 5. Okay. So we have 5 sides and 5 angles. Let's look at my next board. Okay, this one here, let's count the sides. Let's get a different color. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And look at that. It's got 3 right angles in it. Crazy, right? Okay, let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes kids will make a mistake. They'll forget to count both this and this, or they'll get tricked. But you always look for those straight lines. That's a side. 6, and then look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here's 6 on the outside. Oh my goodness, 6 right angles. That is something. All right, guys, here's what I'm going to ask you to do today. Your work, you've got this page. I want you to make your hash marks, and I want you to count up your angles and your sides and draw them. Show me where the angle is, remembering that sometimes the angle is on the outside. And also remembering that every one of these polygons has the same number of sides and angles. So you got to find them. If you're going to tell me it has 6 sides, it's got to have 6 angles. So you're going to do this page, and then you're going to do this page. Okay, now some of these shapes here are really sophisticated. Be careful when you count up the side lengths, okay? And then you're going to do a little bit of problem solving. So for these, make sure when you figured out how many sides they have, write the number inside it. Because you know what? Then it's going to be asking you to compare the number of sides, and you're going to need to be able to quickly look and see the number. And then on here, they've got some 6-sided figures. Well, at least this kid thinks that he's got 2 6-sided figures, and he's put them here on a geoboard. So, and then you're going to have to do some writing to explain. So then what I want you to do is, once you've got these 2 pages and you upload them in Google Classroom and you click Turned In, I want you to go have some fun with this geoboard here. I'm going to go ahead and click and look at this. I can clear the whole drawing. Let me show you what I'm thinking. I'm going to click off my video for a minute so you can see this whole page. When you look at this page right here, okay, all your tools are here. You have to click on the pen to be able to write. So you click on the pen, all of this stuff pops up. You can change the color of the pen. Maybe you want to do red. But when you start drawing your polygons, you want to be using this one. This one here gives you your straight lines. Start at one of the dots and draw. You can go like this, even this big. Look how big. And then let go so that you have this nice straight line. Remember that when you're making a polygon, this right here is not a polygon because it's not closed. It cannot have an opening and still be a 2-dimensional shape. So you're going to have to close it up. All right, there. Now, I bet you thought I was making a triangle, didn't you? 1, 2, 3. This is actually a 4-sided figure there. Okay, now you can erase if you make a mistake. Play around with this. You can do like this. You can erase the whole board. You can do different colored shapes on here. Have some fun with this site, okay? All right, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing with what your work looks like today, your very first geometry lesson with me. See you later.